3, 2, 1. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Radio Wars World. This is your show host, Dr. Marina Nani, and I have the privilege to ask on your behalf to ask the authors to be or not to be on Amazon. What do you think, Laura?
Yeah, I think, sometimes people have this goal of like getting their story out there, being an author. It's sort of one of those things that when you grew up, when you were younger, you kind of thought, oh, when you read these books and you're like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing to tell my own story and everything? So I think there's something within us that we kind of get excited about the idea of being an author, and having something out there for people to kind of read and get to know about us. So I think there's something we grew up with probably that excites us about getting our material out there.
I would like to congratulate you for publishing your book and invite you to tell us more. But before you do so, I want to ask you, what prompted you to publish your book?
Well, it was all about trying to connect with people on a wider level, and basically give them an introduction to me, my experiences, and for them to be able to see whether they can relate to me. Where I'm a coach and mentor. That's one of the things I do, and I think the premise of being a good coach and mentor is being able to connect with the people that you engage with, and for them to be able to connect back with you. And that's where the relationships become strong, and meaningful and worthy. So for me,
you wanted to create a more bespoke relationship with people, total strangers, including yourself, perhaps. So, what is your book title?
My book title is slightly controversial, but it's You're a Liar and a Cheat.
Wow.
Yeah. So
what is the subtitle? So our listeners understand the
Yeah, so it's all about breaking down your barriers, getting over, quite frankly, your own bullshit, and achieving goals and success in your life. But it's actually, although the title is a bit of a gentle slap in the face, maybe, it's actually very much promoted to help people take
the awakening. So you wanted people to become aware that actually when they don't connect with themselves, when they keep themselves captives to their own self-limiting beliefs, to social conditioning, they are not cheating on somebody else. They are cheating on themselves. They are not lying to somebody else. They are lying to themselves. They live in denial. And you wanted your readers to experience that moment when they wake up and think, wait a minute, actually, I could add life to my days. I don't need to carry on adding days to my life. So tell us, what is the feeling you have when you publish your book? When the book is up, it's out there, and total strangers could read and go all through you to the most private, intimate thoughts you never shared before with anyone. What is that feeling like?
Yeah, I think there was probably a time, well, not probably, there was definitely a time in my life where I would have found that just not something that I wanted to experience. I would have always been trying to put up some kind of barrier to that. Now I can genuinely say it's a really liberating feeling, and it's a real feeling of connectivity, showing some kind of vulnerability, that you're a real human. That we all go through these experiences. I think so many times people are living trying to put up walls, to protect themselves and to buffer themselves from life and people in their world. So I feel like if I'm able to share those experiences with other people, then they'll feel more comfortable with themselves, with their own experiences, but then also maybe they would be more comfortable sharing those experiences with me, or changing their own lives. You know, if anybody read that book and they kind of got inspired and motivated to take action and actually make a change, a positive change in their life, that would just make my day. That's the goal.
Wow. So tell me and share with us, if you may, how many people read your book so far? You just published a couple of days ago. Is that
No,
correct?
I have no idea. I haven't even checked. I think it's a couple. There's a lot of people on my Facebook that said that they're going to check it out. There's a few friends of mine that have definitely been reading through it. I know 3 or 4 I've been speaking to. But I think it's one of those things that, you know, people need to see it a couple of times and then go, oh, yeah, I just need to download that and everything.
But there is talk lately that the ebook movement is coming to a halt, and people want more. They want to connect with the real person. They want to come to your book launch. They want to hold the paperback book. They want you to autograph the book for them. And this is one of the reasons we are holding Make the News. And you came to one of our events, and you remember people are very happy to connect in person more than before. So what do you think? I mean, the difference between an ebook and a paperback book, there is no difference. The only difference is that the paperback is actually printed, goes to press, and people could hold it. But other than that, doesn't cost you anything. Doesn't involve extra work. We just need a back cover, basically. But do you intend to publish your book, to have a paperback version, an audio version, perhaps?
I do. I think while I was writing this version, I also have a lot of content that I've written specifically on anxiety and depression. My own experiences within that, and it's just a little bit more detailed, and it's a little bit more specific to those issues, whereas this book is more generic to everybody. Everybody could kind of connect with it. So I definitely want to expand upon that and have that as a secondary, you know, as another book that I put out. But I think on the whole, I would like to just expand on everything that I've already written. And just improve it. I think my second version would just be a little bit more detailed, a little bit longer, you know. And I think then I would want to do a paperback, you know, or a hard copy version. But I do understand what you mean. I think when people can hold, touch something, see somebody, you know, in a video like this, then they feel they're really seeing the real person and everything. So I do understand why people are kind of less enamored with the concept of the ebook and everything online now.
Perhaps they also feel overwhelmed because there are so many ebooks, so perhaps it's hard to pick and choose unless you see the person, unless you meet the author. So this is the very reason we want you to connect with our audience, and we invite you to launch your paperback version at our next Make the News on 6th of September. There is scope for connecting, and I think that the experience of signing, autographing your own book, it is unique.
Yeah.
It's very hard to explain what that does, but I think makes you aware that you are taking full responsibility for your talent, and you are very young, very vibrant, very talented young coach. So perhaps everything have to start somewhere, and you start at the right time. I'm very, very impressed by your courage and your determination, and I can see your passion. And I know your passion revolves a lot more than our listeners could even guess, um, around your environment. What is your view on how environment impacts your level of success, your level of happiness, your well-being?
Yeah, it's a massive topic for me, and it has so many facets, and it's so important. I think people just the big thing for people, I think, right now is that they just accept. They just accept that life is how this is how life is, or this is where I live, so this is how I must live, or these are the people that are my friends, so these are who I am friends with, or this is my job, so this is just who I am now, or whatever it is. So environment can be so many things. It can be the physical, like, environment that you live in. So, like, for example, do you live near the sea? Do you live in the mountains? Do you live in the countryside with fresh air, negative ions? They're a cool thing too. Or in the cities, are you surrounded by people? Are you fairly isolated? You know, there are so many facets within that which all then contribute. And I think environment is also intrinsic and extrinsic. So your own thoughts, your own beliefs, the conversations that you have with yourself. You know, we've constantly got this little dialogue going on with ourselves, day in and day out, and that creates an environment for you. So you've got the environment within your physical body, and then you've got the environment outside of that. And
So you are talking about certain people are looking outside for answers, and they have expectations from the outside world. They keep chasing goals, external goals, without looking inside. So what is your experience? How you discover your inner greatness? How you got to understand who you are and what are you made of by looking inside? What is your experience, Laura?
So I've had many different experiences, but one of the most pivotal, I would say, is last October, when I suffered quite a catastrophic breakdown. And I mean, I've had sort of depressive spells in the past, had some social anxiety, that kind of thing as well, which again, nowadays people wouldn't even believe me if I told them. But that I was always trying, and this is again environment and it's masks that we wear, so that's another topic, but I was always trying to fit into something, and I never felt like I fitted in. So then I kind of tried to create myself as a person to fit in with these various environments, but actually the person that I created to fit in with those environments was not me. It had no connection.
So you if I'm getting this right, the right way, please correct me if I'm wrong. So you wanted to reach out, and in order to do so, you start reinventing yourself. You work really hard on creating a persona that wasn't you, but perhaps you're hoping it will be good enough, without realizing that you are plenty already, without realizing that you are the one and only, and nobody could be you. It was just a matter of not, instead of thinking that you are ready, you have it all, it's time for you to deliver yourself and gift yourself to the world. You are thinking that you have to reinvent yourself all the time. Is that correct?
I think, I mean, honestly, this is a really large topic for me, and I've been through so many different shifts and changes. I don't think there's one thing or one sentence that could, like, really truly embody what I went through and why. But yes, the premise is definitely that we as people, as humans, we have this feeling like we're constantly not good enough, or that we worry about judgment, we worry about fitting in. You know, we need to belong. It's very important for us to connect with other people.
What is your experience, your own experience? What brought you to October last year, 2016, when you had to reach rock bottom to come out again, to reinvent yourself, to deliver yourself, not to reinvent yourself, to deliver yourself? What
So
happened? What happened?
the biggest things were a lack of connectivity, but that was lack of connectivity on all levels. So I had no connection with myself. I had no connection with other people. I had no connection with my future. I was literally, I felt, I think, and it didn't happen in one instance. It wasn't just one day you wake up like that. It's not 1 week. It's not even 1 month. It is years of building this up. And that is, again, what I talk about it is stress, and cumulative stress really is the precursor to all anxieties and depressions, and these states of ill health. And really what it was is that it just built and built. So there were things that I used to enjoy. I used to enjoy physical activity. I stopped enjoying it. So I stopped going to the gym. Then I thought, well, I'll go mountain biking because I used to enjoy cycling. So I thought, well, I'll go cycling. But I started cycling and then I stopped enjoying that. I used to enjoy listening to certain types of music, and that would like give me a positive uplift, and everything stopped. I couldn't listen to music. I used to switch off watching some TV. I couldn't even watch the TV because I was so disconnected. It was like it was staged all the way into the point where you literally, it's just all black. It's like there's literally nothing. So you know, and
So
like,
when you faced that nothingness outside you, you had no choice but to start looking inside and discover you are a whole already. You are.
to be honest, it wasn't an epiphany moment. It was forged, literally forged. So I was suicidal. The only thing that I could think about was planning my own death. And it was a really bad place to be. The only thing, so environment, here we go. The only thing that released me from that was releasing myself from the environment that had created it. So I never went back to the flat that I was staying in. I got out of the town, village that I'm in, and I went back to, I used to live in the Czech Republic, and I haven't seen those people for like 4 years, over 4 years. So I went back there and I had friends that I'll just stay with them. So I stayed with them. I got a one-way ticket and thought whether it's a week or 3, I ended up there for 3 weeks. Then I was very fortunate. My family had already booked for us to go away for Christmas on a sunny vacation holiday. So I was away with them for 2 weeks, and it was that change of environment. It was getting me out of the place that all the connections, all the visual connections, all the stimulus that had caused all that, all those problems, alleviating myself of that and putting myself in a physically different environment helped me create a mentally different environment too. So I was surrounded by people who lifted me rather than pulling me down, you know, and it's energy as well. So your environment will either drain you or it will help you grow and thrive. And that's energy. If you're in a negative environment, you're constantly giving out energy and you run out. Whereas if you're in a happy, positive environment, then your energy is always being refed. So it helps keep you in a higher state and a more positive state. So, and then the big factor for me was then re-identifying with my purpose. So yeah, then definitely what you were saying, Mariana. It was I think it was either mid-December, early January. Mid-December, sorry, when I decided there was something that I wanted to do. About 18 months to 2 years ago now, I came up with an idea, and it was a design idea, and it was a very good idea, but I didn't believe that I could do it. So what I did was what you were just describing, is I reconnected with me, and I looked inside. So I stopped looking outside for things to do, to try and be, to fulfill me. I started really, really looking at what it is that makes me tick, and that's good for me. And once you do that, it can be a bit of a scary place, because you can sometimes get to this point where you're like, when you figure some things out, you're like, well, how do I even make that happen? How do I even achieve this? Now that I know this, now what? How do I make this new life for myself? So, you know, it's a difficult stage, but for me, you know, people say, and this is going to sound a little bit dramatic, everybody, I apologize, but, people tend to say, you know, what's your why? What's your why? And my why, quite frankly, is success or death. You know, that it's quite powerful and almost sad, but it's not sad for me. It's very empowering for me, because it reminds me of the state, that the position that I was in, and the fact that I chose not to be there, and I choose never to be there again. So that helps me take purposeful steps and actions towards improving myself and living the life that works for me, rather than trying to live a life that fits in somehow to the rest of the world. And that really is what I want to help open up to other people, open them up to life. Doesn't have to be mundane. It doesn't have to be like the fear of Monday and the you know, and all of this kind of thing. You can love your life, and you can give so much. You know, we all have so much to give.
So now you stop to use your metaphor. You stop cheating and lying.
Yes.
To yourself. you are awake.
Yeah.
And you take action. You don't feel that writing a book or being published on Amazon is a risk. You feel that is part of your next step. And you are taking everything that is coming into your life as a gift. And from what I see, understand why you are so determined now to move towards that distant goal, towards that dream, and turn that dream into a vision. What is your vision, Laura?
My vision for myself, or my vision for others? I'm not
for yourself, because everything starts with you. You can't love anyone unless you love yourself. You can't see anyone unless you see yourself. What is your vision?
My vision is to have true self-worth and value, like to look at myself and truly reflect back that I feel like a person of significance and value, you know, to myself and to others, that I've lived up to my own potential, that I haven't wasted my life. You know, we are literally blessed. We are literally, like, I'm quite sciencey. I'm a bit of a geek, and I do like my my geeky topics. But you know, the physical form that we live in, the human body, is a literal living miracle. The things that have had to happen in biology to make this be what it is like super fascinating. And I think we just forget that. We just abuse ourselves. We abuse the gift that we've been given to live on this planet, you know, and it's finite. You don't get a do-over. This is it now, you know, and it takes us too long to wake up, to awaken to that. And I think that's sad. And I don't.
I mean, what was holding you back?
What was holding me back?
Yes.
Judgment. It was always a lack of connectivity. So everywhere that I went, I found it very difficult to fit in with people. I think before, like I said, I found social circumstances very difficult, even as a kid. You know, I didn't. It was tricky for me. I didn't play the same as everybody else. I moved around so much. So as a young child, we moved so much. I've been to so many different schools, so many different homes, all of that kind of thing. So I think I was constantly disconnected. And then when you're constantly disconnected, you're constantly then in fear of how you will be received by people. And there were times, you know, where I kind of, you know, I was very observant, so I would try to fit in. So it's like you see the way people act and they do and stuff like that, so you try to fit in. but then that doesn't work for you, so it hurts you. So like, you know, it's always a difficult point to be able to be yourself. But and I think as well, I'd convinced myself that there was nobody that I could connect with. I think that's what I'd done to myself. That was the lie that I told myself, that people weren't who I could connect with. So I actually spent a lot of time away from people, and I worked with horses. So I did actually totally segregate myself and separate myself from kind of societies and stuff like that. But again, that was a massive lie, and I know that now, and I know how to instruct that and help others get through that too.
So. Brilliant. I so enjoy your story, and I would like to welcome Dr. Neslyn Druee. Welcome, Neslyn. How are you?
Oh, hello. Beautiful Laura and beautiful Marina.
Yes, we are so happy to have you here. So yeah. What is, Laura was sharing her own experience, and the question was to be or not to be on Amazon. What is your experience? You published so many books. I think there are at least 12 now, apart from the ones which are in the making. There are printed books, there are paperback version. I know you are autographing them all over the world. What is that is driving you? What is the answer for you, to be or not to be on Amazon?
I would say not to be on Amazon. I have at the moment on Amazon, and there are others that I want to be putting out there into publication. But why be on Amazon when you have Marina Nani? And say, even if Marina were not there, my experience is that when you are on Amazon, that Amazon doesn't really do anything about promoting your book, number one. Number two is you go out there and you promote your book and you drive people to Amazon to buy your book. And then say your book is for £20, you probably get 50 pence or a pound by the time Amazon takes its fees and its and all of that. So why be on Amazon? Find a way of promoting your book.
That is a very straightforward answer. So Neslyn, tell us more about how you wrote your latest book.
Oh, my latest book, and I have another one that I'm waiting just to release, which is actually called The Powerful You. But the one I want to share with you is Joyful Living, and it is the guide to your passion and purpose. And I'll let you see me with a little bit more light because it's dark in the background there. So perhaps is that better now, or do I need to put on the lights up there?
That looks good.
Oh, that's better. Oh no, then you're seeing a lot of shine on my forehead now from that light up there. But anyway, that doesn't really matter. So you want me to share about the book that I've just written?
Yes, please.
Joyful Living, the guide to your passion and purpose. So the very first chapter is very much about arriving at your purpose. And what I am driving there is to say that your purpose isn't something that you've got to go and look for. Your purpose is actually within you. It is divinely within your DNA. You were born for a purpose. You weren't actually born at random. You are absolutely here for a purpose. And in order to be focused within that, just look at the things that you enjoy doing and being. What is it that actually gives you the greatest pleasure in life? What is it that actually makes your heart sing? And then chapter 2, I speak about joy is your birthright. And today I was speaking on Radio Works World as well, and I got carried away with joy is your birthright. And it is so, because every life has got meaning. You don't actually have to go and look for meaning. The fact that you are here is meaning enough. And so I want people to understand that the Creator built joy into our birthright. It's actually in our DNA. It's actually in our heart and soul. Happiness is not something that you actually go and look for. Happiness is already within you, and all you have to do is to tune into it. And tuning into your happiness actually means that you actually take space to meditate. And when I say meditate, is to just be still. Breathe and be still and allow divine presence to come through you. So, for example, you find that when you are doing the things that you love to do and your brain is not fogged by everything else, you get inspiration. And my students used to laugh because I said to them sometimes, have you ever wondered why is it when you're doing your ablutions, like a shower or something, or some of those personal things, that you get such inspiration? And it's really because, your mind is free. And when your mind is free, you get inspiration. And it's all there for you. All you actually need to know is already within you. So in chapter 3, I speak about where joy and then where passion meet purpose. And so I talk about the inner purpose and I talk about the outer purpose. And the inner purpose makes sense because this is where I am aligned with the divine in me. This is where you are aligned with the divine in you. And your outer purpose is very much about where you are being of service to the world in which you are in. Because we are all here to be of service to each other. And in chapter 4, I speak about what is it that keeps us from living our passion and our purpose. And one of the things that actually keep us from living our passion and purpose is part of socialization. When we are little people, our parents have ideas for us. And for example, I remember as a little girl, I always knew that I wanted to be a nurse. And my father was quite concerned about that because in his experience in Jamaica, he felt that nurses were not properly paid and do not have sufficient status. Status was important to my dad. And because he felt that nurses were not properly paid, his mantra to me that whatever happens in life, be an independent woman so that you are able to look after yourself. If you're lucky enough to find a husband, don't expect your husband to don't expect your husband to take care of you. Take care of yourself and you be independent. So, cut a long story short, when I knew that there is no way I'm not going to live my purpose, I said to my parents that I was actually going to the United States in order to have a holiday with my friend. And of course, yes, the plane did land in New York, but it was only for refueling. I came to England. My parents didn't know that I was on the way to England at age 19. So why am I sharing this story with you? I suppose I'm saying that I have been a strong personality, but I do know in one of my books, for example, where I interview people that said, fly high, land safely, career transition for executives. There are some people who, yes, they went to be the lawyer, they went to be the barrister, they went to be this, they want to be that, but in their hearts, they wanted to be something else. And in their midlife, they go off and some of them go off and find that joy. And some people stay miserable, never really satisfying themselves. And so in chapter 4, what I do, I provide people with the tools to really support them to be anew each day. And I love Marina for this, because Marina is just such an enthusiastic bird, I call her. But you know, she sees each day as a new day, which is just so wonderful. And how many of us really start our lives off anew each day and really live in the now? Some of us spend so much time worrying about the future or about the past and not being present here in the now. So I start off with some tools to really enable people to live in each day. And in chapter 5, I am placing the purpose at the center of your life. So here's my book, and some of the things.
Do it again. Yes.
Yes. So I am placing joy at the center of. So here's chapter 4, when I say let go of what keeps you from living with joy, purpose, and passion. And one of the quotes I have in there: freedom is not the absence of commitment, but the ability to choose and commit myself to what is best for me. And that is from Paulo Coelho. And I love that, because and on page 44, I say here, I often tell my clients that love brings up that which is unlike itself for the purpose of release. Because I have observed it to be true, in a safe place that is to be held by someone whose intention is to serve your highest good, it becomes easy to release things that felt impossible to let go on your own. So, you know, I talk about releasing there, and I speak about in this chapter, again, I say yes to life. And I think I gave some key points there about recognition and recognizing the brilliance and the greatness within you, writing for release, saying yes to life, which is just so very important. And there are so many ways that you can say yes to life, and making your beliefs work for you and not against you. So coming back to chapter 5, where I was talking about placing your purpose at the center of your life, a very beautiful quote I've used there again is to remember that wherever your heart is, there you will find your treasure. And I think that is just so beautiful. So I talk about making sure that you serve yourself first. And I mentioned that again today. Let go of of that which no longer serves you, and having the courage to be who you are. You know that it takes courage to be the person that you are here to be. And I use Ralph Emerson's quote here: to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Just to be yourself, because the world is trying to make you something else. And then I move on into chapter 6, where I talk about that commitment to your purpose. And commitment to your purpose, what I'm covering there is about being committed to you. You know, people have all sorts of reasons why they are not able to be the person who they are here to be. And I say that is absolutely nonsense. I feel that me surrender to our greatness. And when we surrender to the greatness, that the universe actually has a plan for us. And that when you are living your joy, the universe opened doors that were probably closed, or doors that you could never imagine would be open for you. When you are absolutely living your joy, the universe actually conspires to make life even better. And, you know, looking back in the experience that I have had in the health service, you know, a lot of mental illness is to do with people not being comfortable in their hearts. You know, and when we talk about disease, it's very much about dis-ease. And if you were to work from the spiritual end, you'll find that a lot of illnesses have their traces back in dis-ease. And that is just so important for us to understand. In chapter 7, I speak about your purpose giving you clarity and your purpose giving you power. And I speak about, I give a very quick introduction there to the 6 powers of purpose. I developed that in much more in the current book, which is called The Powerful You. And what I'm actually doing within that chapter is to create a framework for clarity, creating a framework for purpose, and the process to get in touch with divine will. I also move into the perspective that at any point in your life, that the power of who you are can never be squashed, can never be put out. When you are in alignment with who you are and you strive to live with who you are, you will always be just so much more than you think you can ever be. And then in chapter 8, I am looking at claiming your passion and claiming your purpose. And I think it's just so important that you do that. The chapter really look at how to blossom. Yes, and I'm a gardener. I love gardening, and so I use gardening metaphors there. So the talking about claiming the passion of who you are, and I start off there with a quote: "It's never too late to be what you might have been." And in claiming your passion, I go on about accepting who you are. Start with love and appreciation of yourself, and examining your relationship with gratitude. I take people through what could be a meditation about asking for gifts of the past to be revealed to you. So sometimes we've had some challenging situations, but to recognize that every situation that we have had is also for a purpose, and we can actually learn from that. And if you haven't actually got hold of why you have actually had that experience, you can ask, when you go into the quiet of your heart, to ask why that was. What is the gift to be revealed to you? And it will be revealed to you. So I move on from there and talk about let go of what holds you back, and then take people into, are they really ready? And so if you are ready, you develop a vision and a mission for your life. And I talk about writing your own mission statement, and that the time is now. But I want to end with you with the issues that I have put in the chapter 7 about the 6 areas of the 6 powers of purpose, and they are the power of who you are, the power of who you will become. I just love that. The power of who you will become, the power of your capacity, and the power of your relationships, and the power of your spirituality, and the power of concentration and flow. And concentration and flow is just so important. So I could go on and on and on. I just joyfully love living with joy. Complete.
don't know where Mariana went.
I don't know where Marina went.
Marina's gone.
she's still yeah.
I really enjoyed hearing about your book, though. I think it's so important, like you said, about finding your purpose. That's a lot of what I've been doing recently as well, about identifying with who you are and who you can be, you know, and allowing yourself to become that person. So I think that's great. It's wonderful to hear you so passionately and expressively discuss it as well. It sounds great.
Yes, and you are an embodiment of that joy because you are radiating so beautifully. You are.
Now, I'm always excited to talk about these kind of things because obviously it's so important. There's so many people holding themselves back, so many people, you know, and I think the big thing is as well, it's wonderful to have these discussions and to hear, you know, this from our point of view. But what I really want to hear is what everybody else is doing and how they're making those changes.
Yes.
So it's a feeling when you truly identify with the things that you need to identify with within yourself and understand within the rest of the world to allow yourself to enter into that kind of new position of being and existing. And like you said, gratitude, and I was saying to Marina earlier as well, like just literally being grateful for the life that we have. It is, you know, it's exciting to have. So I love hearing about other people's changes of where they've gone from point A and can now become and be the person that they want to be. It's always exciting.
Brilliant. I'd love to hear about your book, Laura.
Thank you. Marina, you're...
I'm on air. I'm waiting to hear about your book.
Yeah, it's my first published to Amazon. I know we're not fans of Amazon, but it is my first step. So yes, and my title, it's a book all about empowerment. However, the title is a little bit provocative. So it's You're a Liar and a Cheat. Which is really to kind of stop people, because I think most people, when they see that, they're like, no, I'm not. So it was really to get people... Exactly. That's it. It's to kind of get people to stop and say, no, I'm not. And then me to explain what I really mean by that. So the whole purpose of the book really is to help people break down barriers, to quite frankly get past their own bullshit, because the amount of rubbish that we tell ourselves day in and day out is predominantly the things that hold us back in life, and then help people actually obtain the goals and the desires and the life that they truly want to live. And me and Marina were talking about this before, and I was saying about how the environment within your own mind, but then also your own physical environment and the interactions you have with that environment and the people within it, is so important. And to, like you were saying, to have an alignment with what is good for you, with what your true joy and passion is, and then to have congruency then within the life that you lead, the steps that you take, the actions that you take, the people that you interact with. You know, that's so important. But so many people we kind of assume that it's just, you know, it's just difficult, or it's just a stressful world that we live in, or that's just life, or this is my situation, so I just have to deal with it. I just have to accept it. And I think so many people trap themselves in these boxes, really, behind their own bars. And that's what I mean by lies. So the lies that we tell ourselves, and cheating ourselves.
It's almost what you are saying. It's identical with what I'm saying. You run out of excuses at some point.
Yes.
And when you run out of excuses, the only way you could look at yourself is by admitting, this is my truth, this is who I am. Yes. And I love myself. I am kind to myself, because kindness starts with myself. So
Absolutely.
I remember I was asking you, so Neslyn, at the very beginning, I was asking Laura what is her experience of being a published author. And you know why I'm asking this? Because I met so many people, and everybody holds a book inside, even they know it, even they don't know it. You do have a story. But I think the reality of this story you hold is that it's not your story to hold. It is your story, but it's your story to share
Exactly.
and give others a solution that you discovered for your own struggles. And sharing that solution is almost like a moral duty. And I know some people think that writing a book is difficult, is complicated, is expensive, and actually doesn't cost you anything. It's just your desire to give more. And I remember traveling from Asia back to North America. And on my way to Singapore, I was watching all the movies. It was a 26 hours flight. But on my way back, I ran out of excuses. So it was nothing new to watch. So I went on YouTube, and I just seen couple of videos that people took while I was speaking on stage on various locations. And while I was playing with that, and I didn't like it because I didn't like how I look, I didn't like what I said, I felt embarrassed, and I thought, oh my God, I'm on YouTube, and I I didn't know what to do to take me down sooner. Anyway, so while playing with those videos on YouTube, I realized that next to the share button, there is another button called more. When you click on more underneath the screen, there are another three little buttons, and one of them says transcript. So I clicked on the transcript, and the whole transcript of the audio file was there. So because I was so bored and it was a very long flight, I started to copy and paste. So there I was. After 5-6 hours, I had 160 pages for another book. But I was going to a book launch for another book I wrote. And that took me perhaps 2 weeks or so to write it and going through the process. I already at that time, this was book number 32, so at that time I already had the formula of writing books as they were coming to me, because I always felt that they were coming through me, not for me. So I created the book structure very simply talks, because there are all the talks, the transcripts from the talks, because I went there on a tour to walk the talk. So I had over 160 pages. So what I've done from the airport, I went straight to a printing shop. Actually, I asked the taxi driver, take me to a printing shop. He looked at me, what kind of printing shop? Said, one that can publish a book, can print a book. And I said, okay, I know the place. And he took me there. And 24 hours later, I had the book in my hands. And because I had no time to create I was so excited about my discovery. And because I had no time to create a book cover, I just put one of my pictures as a book cover. And that was book number 32, Away from Home, Walk the Talk. So next day I had to fly to New York. So the book I was planning to launch, I canceled it. And I got 2,000 books. It was no time for proofreading. So I took all these books in the cabin to New York. So of course, because I was rushing and it was all the last minute kind of experience, one of the boxes opened up. and all the books were on the floor, like 100 books or 50 books were on the floor, and everybody was picking them up. Oh, this is you, this is you. So I was a bit embarrassed, but that was me, that was my book. So I realized how easy it is actually to write a book without writing the book, just speaking, walking the talk. And the reality is that you can write as many books as you want, but unless you walk the talk, unless you go out of your comfort zone, and you don't really think of yourself, oh, I don't look right on YouTube, or I'm not a good speaker, or I don't know what to say, or I don't have a message. Unless you get rid of all these excuses and you take responsibility for your true gift, which is to bring the light on somebody else's dark sky, you are not really fulfilling your purpose, because that book that is coming through you is not for you to hold. It's not for you just to publish on Amazon for the sake of being an author, but it is your message for the people who are waiting for that message, that particular message. So yes, since then, Neslyn knows I've been publishing more books, and I help my friends, my clients. I help everybody who needs help to publish a book. And it's very simple. You just walk the talk because unless you walk the talk, nobody is going to hear your message. You have to voice your message. You have to be in front of people. You have to go on stage where the magic happens. People are looking at everybody who is on stage thinking, oh, I will never be there. But actually, why not? This is why we have made the news. And making the news is not that difficult. Is simply showing up. Is simply celebrating life on the red carpet and taking responsibility for your true gift, which is not for you to hold, it's for you to share. So I think what is easy for me could be difficult for others, and what is easy for other people could be very difficult for me. I'm a slow learner. But I focus, and I think I'm at the point where I master it and I become my purpose, and my passion is to broadcast your passion. This is why I invited you to come and meet Dr. Neslyn Druee and learn from her own experience as an accomplished author, and understand that yes, the book is amazing. It's an amazing step towards delivering your vision. But actually, the miracle the world is waiting for is you. You are the miracle. Laura, congratulations again.
Oh, thank you. That's very, very kind. And I'm very excited. I'm very grateful that you invited me on to be here as well. It's really great. So even from our first meeting, I could tell you're a very special, passionate person, and have true, genuine, and like, when you just meet people and you're just like, it's an open soul kind of thing, and you are very such an open, giving person. So I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you.
Laura, I'm thinking that nothing happens by accident, and when you meet somebody and you look at them and you see something in them, it is your moral right and your moral obligation to tell them, this is what I see in you. So allowing other people to be themselves and focus on that, master that without trying to be somebody else. Embracing your truth is the one thing that people are afraid of, is the most nonsensical fear. If you think, what is the worst that could happen when you become yourself, when you embrace your truth, when you endorse your own vision?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what other people think of you is none of your business. Is your only business is what you think of yourself. So sharing your story sometimes is not comfortable, and I think that makes it so beautiful when you open the gates into this space, which otherwise will be forgotten, which otherwise will never help anyone. This is, I call it your genius, your stardust. And this is what we are doing. Dr. Neslyn knows, and she inspires me so much. Sharing your stardust is a moral duty. And when somebody is asking me where you are coming from, I'm telling them, I'm coming from stardust. And think about it. Each atom in your body is coming from a different planet. So the universe had to have supernova happening for you to happen. How can you let that go away and be unmemorable and be unnoticeable? It's not right. So then again, when somebody is asking me where I'm going, I know where I'm going. I'm going to deliver my stardust.
It's a really nice message, and when I first heard it, I was very intrigued, and I connect with Stardust, I think, on a different level, but I totally see where you come. Like, we are literally just atoms. We're miraculously stuck together to be humans, and yes, I do find, you know, I believe everything's in transition. You know, nothing really dies, as it were. So, and I also very much believe, like you said, Marina, about it's your obligation. Like, I think if there's anything within anyone that they sit there and they think, maybe if I shared this, maybe if I told someone this, then it could help them, you know, can make the biggest changes, can make the biggest differences. And it can be, even like you said, just sort of seeing someone and saying something pleasant to them. You know, so much we think it in our minds, but we never actually communicate it out into the world. And it could make such an impression on one person. It could change their whole day. So to do that from the stage, to do it in front of hundreds of people, or to do it virally, you know, where we can connect with potentially, you know, thousands of people all at one time, you know, the difference that can give, you know, then that's a gift. Why would you call it anything else? If you have the ability to share something that's personal to you, that's a story that you've lived, you've embodied, and from doing that you can help change in a positive way for someone else. You know, that's exciting. Share the stardust.
Yes, and I know Dr. Neslyn Druee, she's working with high-profile clients, and she got her own tools to help people identify their strengths. And recently, I witnessed one of your sessions, and I was blown away how precise and scientifically accurate you were when helping somebody to see who they truly are. Tell us more about it, Dr. Neslyn.
So one of the things I specialize in as a business psychologist is for you to be very comfortable with who you are. And oftentimes we are just so modest because we know who we are, because our hearts know who we are. But sometimes, you know, modesty gets in the way of us really sharing who we are. So I use self-reporting tools that are very scientifically proven. And so one of the tools is what I call a team management profile. It actually asks you 20 questions, and you answer the questions in the way in which you prefer to work, not how you are actually working at the moment, because the way you prefer to work may not be the way you are working at the moment. Because if you're not in your flow, and if you're not living your vision, and if you're not living your passion, you're not working the way in which you wish to work. And so answering these 20 questions, then I am able to identify where a person actually fits in terms of their preferences. And so on the wheel, there are 8 positions, but let me take it into 4 and then take it into 8. Some of us are much more visionary. We like to see the very big picture. We have ideas, and we can actually put things very much into shape. We can assess, we can develop. Then there are some of us who are organizers, and we will put things into shape. And we'll take the ideas and we'll take the plans and we'll make them work. Now, some of us are more detailed persons, and so we dot the I's and cross the T's. And some of us are more researchers, really. We'll go out there and we'll gather the information, and irrespective of how much another member is in a hurry, you're not going to be driven by that, because you're very much more around the governance issues. You're wanting to make sure that you cover all the areas which you need to cover. And so those are the big 4 corners. And each person has what we call a major preference supported by 2 associated preferences, your secondary and the next. And so I use this information because it's only from a point of discussion, really, and say to the person, these are some of the issues and this is the way it is being reported. Give me some examples of how this has been in your life. So I'm gathering the information and I'm pulling out there and using managerial language, because that's another thing. In order to have your high profile impact, you need to be using the language that is common within that world, in the world of leadership, in the world of management. You're leading yourself. You don't actually need to go out there and lead somebody else. For God's sake, you're breathing. And the very fact that you are living and breathing, you are a leader.
For example, just to give our viewers an example. So if I want to talk to my ideal clients, the people I could help, I have to speak their language. So if I tell Laura, for example, Laura, you are the best kept secret. It's time for you to come out and share your stardust. Is something that my ideal client would understand. So the same way, perhaps best, even when you write, because I want to apply this to book writing and crafting your message, perhaps the number one focus should go on speaking the language of your ideal client, the client who is ready to learn from you and ready to hire you. And I really believe that people hire you not for your expertise, but for your time. They pay for your time. So spending time with you, Neslyn, is always a true privilege. I can't thank you enough for spending time with me, for allowing me to learn from you. So coming back to your tools, what do you think that people who got tremendous abilities cannot see in themselves?
Oftentimes, it's just recognizing their greatness, the greatness of who they are. Going back to what I said, every one of us is here for a reason. Every one of us have got a purpose, and every one of us actually have greatness within us. And when you use my tools for your self-reporting, just about your preferences, and it just brings out so many beautiful areas for you to look. My tools enable you to look through which for you to shine. And oftentimes we stop ourselves from shining. And why do we stop ourselves from shining? Sometimes we're too modest. And sometimes, as you say, Marina, it's about speaking the language. So the tools enable you to look yourself in the mirror. It gives you the specificity of the language to make high impact. The tools give you a coaching strategy in order to influence. The tools give you a coaching strategy in order for you to negotiate. You see, there are areas of communications that I think that are just so powerfully, and when we align ourselves with them, then we become even more impactful. And I say influencing, communication, negotiation, and conflict resolution are 4 key areas in terms of communication that we need to master. And my tools enable you to see how to navigate those areas, both in your personal life and in your business. Complete.
Wow. Wow. What do you think, Laura?
Yes, I was thinking about that, and what you just said at the end there, Neslyn, about negotiating and using the tools within your personal and professional life as well, because it is all encompassing. You know, it should complement, one should complement the other, whereas I think a lot of times we almost have 2 personalities, or maybe more, depending on what situation we're in. As far as, like, I think personally, I like to not focus too much on the words that I'm using, or try to change how I express myself to fit in with somewhere. I think because I've done that, and I didn't love it. I nowadays I try to just say things how I feel them, how I felt them. And in the end, the people that are going to be receptive to that you're going to be able to influence the most, connect with more than just your words. They connect with who you are, how you express yourself. It can be so many things, as in tonality, as in the way, you know, I don't know, you, I suppose, look as well sometimes, but your stance, your position, and how you connect with your audience, but on a personable level. So I think there are definitely ways that you can kind of help teach people to engage with people in a better way. But in the end, I try to just say it how I think it and feel it now. Like, even when it comes down, like, it's a kind of like, I cuss. Some people.
We have Umar Hussein, who I think very soon he is going to write his book. Hi Umar, very, very grateful you are joining us. And I have also something that we both love, Laura. It's an author that we both love. If you want to read the quote.
Mm-hmm.
It may be hard for an egg to turn into a bird. It would be a jolly sight harder for it to learn to fly while remaining an egg. We are just like eggs at present, and you cannot go on indefinitely being just an ordinary, decent egg. We must be hatched or go bad. C.S. Lewis, of course.
I want to come back to something that Laura was saying, and in some respects we're actually saying the same thing. I'm saying it differently, because when I talk about using the language, the most powerful language, Laura, is the language of who you are.
Yes.
And once you understand who you are and you are comfortable in your skin about who you are, then your flow and your connectedness out there just goes. So, for example, I don't try and stop myself from being a touchy-feely person. And I remember a coach saying to me, "Oh, you don't touch, you don't do this, you don't do that." And I said, well, if I am doing that respectfully, and it's about how the energy is exchanged. I know when I try to be, I don't even try. I don't need to be a stiff person, because when I am actually connecting with you, I am connecting with my whole body, and I'm connecting with your whole person. And I'm also connecting with your unseen energy, because one of the things I loved about what you said earlier on, we are atoms. We are waves, and we are atoms. And so the universe has constructed us for us to see each other as human beings. But on another level, if you and I were just looking at each other, all we would see is just pure waves of consciousness. Complete.
Yeah.
I remember we were